Thank you very much, Senior Superintendent Stephanie Lindsay, for mastering the ceremonies proceedings so far. And of course, to Dr. Rowan Carnegie, our apostle and spiritual leader of the Olympic Gardens community, from the Christ for Life Deliverance Tabernacle, for the wonderful invocation that he prayed over us. My friend, Deputy Prime Minister, Dr. Horace Chang, Minister of National Security, you could describe him as indefatigable. A man who, through the raging storms, remained calm and confident. And he had good reason to be calm and confident because we had a plan that we put in place, and we strategically executed that plan. And it is amazing how we see people crawling out of the woodwork to criticize and make suggestions and make demands. And when we asked them for partnership and for support, they were nowhere to be found. They were very critical of what we were doing, which is the nature of things. You know, you always have to have persons critiquing your performance because that's important to keep you on your toes and to keep you motivated to get things done. So, you know, I recognize the effort of the Minister of National Security and carrying us through very difficult times. But we stayed the course and we are now seeing the results. He was ably assisted halfway through the plan by his permanent secretary, who is here, Alison Stone Roof. And I need to say this because the minister's work is to develop policy, to be a good advocate, a good motivator, and a good communicator. But plans don't materialize by themselves. It takes instrumental, dedicated, strategic work so that all the T's are crossed and the I's dotted, so that we are doing everything according to the rules that we set. And so I want to acknowledge the work of the Permanent Secretary, Ambassador Alison Stone Roof, in the Ministry of National Security. The Commissioner is represented here by Deputy Commissioner of Police, Mr. Warren Clark, someone who has been working in the force for many years, quietly behind the scenes, recently promoted to this position and has been doing an amazing job. And I expect that my compliments to you, sir, will cascade to all the members in your command who are also here, including Senior Superintendent Mandison, who is in charge of this area. Superintendent Mandison knows that he has to give me a report each time I come into the area about how the area is performing. And, you know, the reports are not always going to be good. But one thing we can say is that we will be honest about the performance. So when the performance is not what we expect, we still report and say, you know, St. Andrew South was trending above in the early part of the year what we would have wanted in terms of the targets that we have set. And today I'm pleased to report that Superintendent Mandison has reported to me that he is now one homicide less today compared to last year this time. So we are heading in the right direction. The measures are being put in place and we're going to see the impact. Let me acknowledge the councillors and councillors caretakers who are here, and of course my family from Olympic Gardens and Seabright and Malines who are here. It is my privilege to join you here today as we officially Olympic Gardens Jamaica Eye Control Center, right here at the Olympic Gardens Police Station. Let this event be a signal to the people of Jamaica that their government is serious about making our streets safer, our communities more confident, and our nation more capable in its fight against crime. It is about combining technology, training, and trust to build a more modern, responsive, and intelligent security system. One of the critical realities of crime in our country is that it is often concentrated around public spaces. The very areas where people come together to work, shop, commute, and socialize. These include transport hubs, commercial districts, marketplaces, and main roads like Olympic Way. Now, these are the arteries of daily life, the places where families earn their living, where children go to school, where community spirit grows, and where social trust is formed. Unfortunately, there are also the spaces in which members of the public are most vulnerable to the predatory action of bad actors. Now, if you know Olympic Way, you would describe Olympic Way as the main thoroughfare. It is both the front yard and the backyard of the community. It is where the kids go to school. You have on Olympic Way, you have Seaward, primary and infant. You have DuPont. You have numerous infant schools and basic schools. And just off Olympic Way, you have Penwood, right? So it is the school, it is the road where education essentially takes place. And if you know Olympic Way, this is the party capital of this part of Kingston. So there's a party for almost every day of the week happening somewhere on Olympic Way. I'm sure Olympic Way has the most bars per kilometer of roadway in Kingston and St. Andrew. It is the place where people come to get their public transportation. At a lot of bus stops and gathering points. And Olympic Way is where people come to shop. Boy, the number of shops on Olympic Way is incredible. From wholesale to retail to all kinds of shops are here. And it is also the gathering points, right? This is where you have the little football field there, which we are converting, and we're going to create a nice little scrimmage field there when it is finished. And of course, you have the Kling Oval. And then, competing with the number of bars, I think you may have as many churches as bars. There's a whole lot of churches on Olympic Way. So you see, it's the center of life. The center of life. But these public places are oftentimes the targets of criminals. And if we want to truly build the economy, and every time I use that word, I suspect when I say economy, people hear money. Right? But the economy is more than money. Right? The economy is how you make your living. It is a place where you exchange your talent and skills, where you get reward for that in wages, and then you take that and you go and purchase goods and services. So Olympic Way effectively is an economy. People work on Olympic Way, they get their wages, they spend their money on Olympic Way, they socialize on Olympic Way, they get their education on Olympic Way, they go to work on Olympic Way. You see that ecosystem? If there is crime happening there, and it disrupts your ability to earn your living, shop, socialize, worship, then it destroys your way of life. And I'm just using Olympic Way as a microcosm, meaning a small example of other such ecosystems of public spaces right across Jamaica, where criminal activity threatens to disrupt them. I've been here for a long time, going 28 years as your member of parliament. And I have seen times when Olympic Way was like a ghost town, where after 6 o'clock everybody gone in. Yes, I've seen it. And I made a commitment that I am not going to be the member of parliament for an area where people have to run and sleep under their beds and fear to come out, which is why we created the hip strip on Olympic Way, to show that people can enjoy their community. When I come here at night, the place is just vibrant. People are out enjoying themselves. And that's what we want. You want to be able to enjoy and benefit from and thrive in the public space. So, for too long, too many Jamaicans have felt unsafe in these shared environments. Acts of violence, robbery, extortion, and disorder, often committed in plain view, have undermined public confidence and hurt our local economies. When fear drives away the public from public spaces, small businesses suffer, transportation systems stall, and social trust is eroded. I recall an incident many, many years ago when I say this, the people who live in the area will know, when the Patty man was killed. And that triggered an ongoing gang war that claimed many lives. And it went on for many years. What I learned from that, being a young member of parliament at the time, and interacting with the people, everybody knew what happened. Everybody knew who did the killing. Nobody would talk. Nobody would say anything. People saw what happened, but nobody would say anything. They told me, they told other people, they spoke amongst themselves. I'm sure somebody may have whispered to the police, but there was no evidence. Nobody would come forward to give a statement. Well, this is precisely why we initiated the Jamaica Eye program. CCTV, that is closed circuit television surveillance, is instrumental to reclaiming and securing these vital areas. It provides visibility where there was once vulnerability. It deters criminal activity by increasing the risk of being caught. It gives law enforcement a critical tool to respond quickly and to hold perpetrators to account. But more importantly, it provides evidence without having to rely on the human factor. It provides the evidence without you having to rely on someone who may be fearful to come forward to give a statement. So a gang war that was extended for almost 2 years and claimed many lives could have easily been ended if the initial shooting that triggered this internecine war was spotted and the evidence objectively provided. We could have stopped it in its track. We didn't have that tool then. We are ensuring that that tool is here today. So, more than that, it gives the reassurance to the public that the state is present, that there is an authority present, not with suspicion, but a presence that is acting in the interest of the citizen. And that every person, whether a street vendor, a commuter, a school child, or a pensioner, has the right to feel safe as they go about their daily lives. By securing public spaces, we are defending the freedom to move, to gather, to trade, and to thrive. And that is the fundamental of building a modern, prosperous Jamaica. Olympic Gardens is a critical corridor in St. Andrew South Police Division, serving as a connector between the commercial centers of 3 miles and the residential and industrial zones of Seaview Gardens, Tower Hill, and Waterhouse. This area hums with economic activity, pedestrian movement, and vibrant community life, but it faces unique challenges, especially related to traffic safety, because sometimes this road is almost like a race course. Public order, people park anywhere, stop anywhere, block the roads. Those things have to be addressed. And then there is crime. Thankfully not so much these days, but still, there is crime. So, what we're doing is not just about putting in cameras. What we are doing is securing the public space. Recognizing this, the Jamaica Constabulary Force identified the area as a priority zone for surveillance. And today, I'm proud to say we have acted decisively. Through the Olympic Way CCTV expansion project, we have installed 51 cameras across the corridor, from the Scotiabank at 3 miles all the way to this station, ensuring that virtually no blind spots exist. 51 cameras along this corridor. So this is not just about the number of cameras. It is about the type and quality of surveillance we are deploying. I don't want to say too much about what we have, because some things you have to just keep it. But it is important to let the criminals know, we see you, we know you, we can find you, and we will reach out and touch you. So, the cameras have license plate recognition. They can scan and capture license plates in real time. So this will allow us to detect stolen vehicles. Stolen vehicles, we know that there are pockets of gangs around the area that are involved in the stolen vehicle trade. We are going to find you and we're going to break up your gang. These are fixed high-definition cameras and they are mounted at critical junctions. So they are focused on schools and public spaces, public buildings, and they provide constant visibility. So they're not off sometime and on sometimes. These are the latest cameras, and I'll say a few words about that. So these have 99% uptime. They are very energy efficient, and you're dealing with the best technology. And these cameras have the ability to pan, tilt, and zoom. So from within the control center, it's not just fixed at a location. The operator can tilt the camera and move it and zoom in. And with artificial intelligence, though I shouldn't say all of what we have, but yeah, but a noise can be made and the camera moves to that noise without an operator. All of this is technology that we are going to integrate. So, just to say a little bit more about the technology, because, again, the conversation today from many of the talking heads and people who are seeking relevance in the conversation would seem to suggest as if the government doesn't know what it is doing. This administration in 2018 put out to the country a plan. It was called Plan Secure Jamaica. It's a comprehensive plan focused on 10 areas of national development. And that plan included the strengthening of the JDF to ensure that we have domain control. We can control our borders and our maritime space and provide effective support, latent support to the JCF. The plan required us increasing the number of security personnel that we have. So the complement of the JDF was increased from about 4,000. There are a little bit over 8,000 now. Same thing for the JCF. We moved the JCF from somewhere in the region of about 9,000 to now they are almost at their full complement of 14,000. We changed their communications, their transportation, their training, their doctrine, their leadership. The JCF today is not the JCF of 10 years ago. Totally different organization. Now I see articles being written about Jamaica militarizing. What nonsense. The truth is we have been very unsophisticated in our security arrangements. So unsophisticated that criminals had greater capacity to create mayhem than the security forces had to bring them under control. And there are those who are vested in seeing our security forces underfunded, undersupported. No criminal organization must have more capabilities than our security forces. And so under Plan Secure Jamaica, we put the money to back that. We weren't waiting for our overseas partners to say, here is something, or we'll help you with that. No. When it comes to security, you must take your own money and secure yourself. And so we took our own resources, the dividends of our good economic management. So for those people who talk about economy can keep you secure. Because no other government was able to do what we did in terms of the expenditure that we have made in the security forces. When we took over, we didn't have one operating offshore patrol vessel. Today we have several. The average person wouldn't understand the benefit of having that. But if we didn't have that, the influx of persons who would come in from other areas where there are challenges, for example in Haiti, would be huge. But because we made that investment well in advance of the situation in Haiti, Jamaica has consistent presence in those waters. You have been hearing about the number of interdictions at sea with drugs. That is what the security blanket gives you. You only know you're insecure when you don't have it. But when you have it, you take it for granted. But we made that investment. We made that investment as well in the intelligence capabilities of the forces. So we are not going with a net to catch criminals. Our security strategies are sharpened because we have better intelligence. And more than that, you would have seen many crimes being committed. And within days, the police have been able to identify the perpetrator and bring them to justice because their investigative capacities have been increased as a result of the investments that we have made. So, for those who are late to the game, we have been at this for a very long time, making the investments, making the strategic moves, putting the right people in place to be able to be at this point where we can see results. So, what we have built here today, which is an example of that investment, this is a brand new police station that replaced the old police station, which was an old NHT scheme building that we had catched up the police inside there. This administration came and we built a state-of-the-art facility, an example of the kinds of investment that we have made. Today, we are now launching, not just in building, but in technology. Because everybody is saying, you need to have cameras. What happened to Jamaica Eye? You need to have cameras. And there is a notion that you can walk into Best Buy or order on Amazon and take up a camera and stick it up somewhere. Not understanding that retail and commercial level operations is a whole different and lower level than security operations. When you have to think about, first of all, the uptime, so it's a whole different quality of equipment. Then you have to think about cyber attack and cyber security. It's a whole different level of securing them. Then you have to think about integration. The software and the operations of these equipment have to be able to backward integrate into what the legacy stuff that you already have. And then the camera is just one element. You need broadband. Because one thing for the camera to capture the image, where is it going to be stored? And how are we going to access that camera? So before you can put up camera, you need broadband. And some of you would see that the government of Jamaica has been installing GovNet broadband capabilities right across Jamaica. Yes, we have been doing that quietly and silently. The public would know this, but we have increased our broadband capabilities. This is only possible because we have done that. And then once that is done, then we have to train the personnel who will manage it. So we will have a center here where persons will be able to monitor on the screens what is happening with the 51 cameras. But I go one step further, which I'm certain that the Minister of National Security had already spoken about this. The government of Jamaica is investing in a C5 center. I don't want to go into too much detail because I don't want the criminals to know what we have. But what is happening here in terms of the cameras will be fed into our national strategic coordination of the cameras and other sensors that are deployed across Jamaica. So that C5 center is very close to being operational. Cost a significant amount of resources. We have funded it. So we're not just talking about security, we are putting it in. So all the people talking about cameras and body-worn cameras, come on, man, the government knows what it is doing. And we are moving with speed and alacrity to have it installed. You know, it is in the government's interest, in your interest, that our police officers have body-worn cameras. And as fast as possible, we want to have those deployed. But we don't want to have cameras that we put on and then it doesn't work. It's not about cameras. It's about an ecosystem where each officer can capture the situation that confronts them and have that evidence capture stored in a retrievable way, but in a secure way that it cannot be manipulated so that it reaches evidentiary standards for court proceedings. That is what we want. And so it takes time to build out that so that it has endurance. And that is what we're doing. We don't want to have a security force where people fear our police more than they fear gunmen. That is not what we want. Every officer here that dons the uniform, what they really want when they walk out in their community is that people say, I want my son to follow in your footsteps. They want respect. And they know they can't get that respect if people just fear them as though they fear criminals. So let us invest in building a security force that we can all be proud of. And as I stand here today, I want the security force that we are building to have the ultimate and utmost respect for human rights. Let us make our JCF the force for good, the force to protect us. It's a conversation that the nation needs to have. Yes, there were transgressions in the past. And yes, there are members of the force who they haven't got the memo yet. But I'm certain that the system that is in place in the JCF with the new leadership and command, that when officers violate, they will be dealt with. This is not a banana republic force. This is a world-class policing institution that we are building, one in which you can be proud and one that will be an example for the rest of the region. So what we have created here is a layered, intelligent surveillance ecosystem, one that empowers the police to act proactively and not just reactively. So this is the first for Kingston and St. Andrew, but it is a model for the rest of Jamaica. We're going to be deploying this right across Jamaica. This project is the first full-scale, ground-up installation under the Jamaica Eye program within the corporate area. It cost just over $100 million, and it was implemented between April 2024 and February 2025. You see how long it took? But it was in discussions long before that. It had to go through contract, procurement. Well, it went to the public investment, then to procurement, then to contracting, then to implementation, and here we are today. Because we had to make sure that the cameras we select were the best. So let me say it clearly, this is a smart investment in our people's safety, and this is only the beginning. As you may know, Cabinet has approved a strategic master plan for the expansion of the Jamaica Eye network. Over the next 3 years, we will add 2,500 cameras across Jamaica, island-wide. Already, 500 of those have been earmarked for Portmore, Old Harbour, Port Antonio. We are building out a national infrastructure of safety. So for all the people who are quick to retort, where are the cameras, where are the cameras? You're going to get camera till you don't know what to do with it. Then you're going to hear the complaint. Too much camera, we have too many cameras. Right? But you know how our government works. You have the people who make up noise and talk, and when they had the chance they never do anything, but they all have mouth now. But this is the government. Regardless of what you want to say, we get things done, and we get it done properly and with endurance. So they have been talking about this for a long time, but we got it done. We got it done. You're going to have, with this round, 2,500 cameras installed in the next 3 years. We have started with this, and it's just going to be rolled out systematically now. So the cameras installed here are not isolated. They are part of a national grid. The footage can be accessed not only by officers here at Olympic Gardens, as I've said, but also by the police emergency control. That means improved coordination, faster response times, and better outcomes when seconds matter. This level of real-time integration is what modern policing demands, and we are equipping our officers not just with more tools, but with the right tools. The monitoring center here at Olympic Gardens will be staffed by trained personnel, guided by principles of privacy. I want to emphasize that. These persons who will be trained to monitor the cameras, they have to understand privacy. I know our culture where somebody gets some information and they pass it on to their friend. I want to be clear about that. That we are not just putting up cameras, we are putting in systems of accountability so that the officers who will have access to monitor these things understand that there are consequences for them if they breach the fundamental privacy rights of the citizens of Jamaica, for whom much power is given. There must be great accountability and responsibility. But our police officers will have greater visibility of what happened. Last year, I was in this area because just across the road from here, a murder took place across from the police station. I was very distressed by that. But of course, there were no cameras. Police weren't able to see. No, that will not be the case. In fact, that was one of the kind of driving events behind getting the cameras installed here. And so I want to say that with this installation, I have said to the Minister of National Security that I am going to allocate from the CDF a further $5 million to place additional cameras, because you have the backbone now, you have the system in place, so it's just a matter of building out more cameras. So on the off roads for Olympic Way, those roads that don't have visibility, we're going to put cameras on those roads. And I'm not going to pressure the Ministry of National Security budget because I want you to go to other communities with this. But I'm going to put the cameras in some of the off roads so that the criminals have nowhere to hide. That when they think about committing an act in Olympic Way, they think twice. And the reason why I'm doing this is that just a few weeks ago, there was a drive-by shooting in one of the off-roads where a 14-year-old Jamaican girl who could be a lawyer, doctor, teacher, who could have given so much to the country, moments before she asked her mother for some money if she could go to the shop to buy, I don't remember what it was she did like, crab. Just down the road from our house. And the mother went into her pocket, gave her daughter no expectation that some low-life beast would come and claim the life of her daughter over some foolishness, over who thief, who for gun. And we must have pity and sympathy on those people. We must come out and protest on their behalf. It is time that Jamaica stands up and be definitive. We must stand up and protest for the victims. And that 14-year-old girl shot in her head. Innocent. And we protest for criminals. Every Jamaican should resolve that we must get rid of the criminals. It could have been your daughter. Walk into the shop. But as I stand here today, we are going to find you. So we're going to put cameras on that road and several others. But I also want to announce that we're going to put up a $2 million reward fund for anyone giving information leading to the capture and arrest of those criminals who are responsible for the murder of that 14-year-old girl in this constituency. And I'm going to ask the Minister of National Security if he could top it up so that there is a greater incentive. Because somebody knows. As I told you, it's been my experience. People know, but nobody's going to come forward and give evidence. But we just need to know so we can piece things together. Somebody knows. So let me repeat. We will be giving $2 million. And I'm asking the Ministry of National Security to top that up, so that there is a sizable sum so we can find those criminals who did that to that 14-year-old girl who is not here with us. It really touched my heart. So, let me be clear. Jamaica Eye operates within strict parameters. It is not a tool of surveillance over citizens' privacy, nor does it collect personal data like facial recognition or audio. We don't store that. Its cameras are aimed only at public places, places that are defined as public places, the roadway, the sidewalk. It will cover the places where people have public access, move, walk, drive, and the information gathered is stored and used according to the data protection laws which exist and with full respect for human rights. We must never fear the tools that help us to build a better society. What we must fear is doing nothing while criminals take root in our society. It is because we have been doing nothing for a long period of time why we are in this situation today. I would rather be criticized for doing something than for doing nothing. Remember, security is everybody's business. So in conclusion today, we open more than a control room. We open a new chapter in how Jamaica fights crime, builds communities, and protects lives. To the officers who will monitor these cameras, you carry a sacred duty. Use this technology to serve, protect, and uphold the law with integrity. To the residents of Olympic Gardens, this is for you. It is a promise that your community is not forgotten. It is a symbol of the Jamaica we are building, one where order replaces chaos and progress replaces fear. And to all Jamaicans, let us support this effort, not only with our words, but with our actions. Let us step into the future, digitally equipped, morally grounded, and united in purpose. May God bless the people of Olympic Gardens. May He protect our officers. And may He continue to bless Jamaica, land we love. Remember, choose Jamaica.